Our speaker this morning is Will Biggs. Will is a four-year boarding student from Marin County, California. He's president of the Honor Council, a two-year prefect, and a member of the varsity boys basketball and tennis teams. He's also the proud roommate of Will Schaller. Will?
My grandfather, a Hill alumnus, has always had one big rule. For as long as I can remember, he's never accepted good as an adequate answer. I tell him something was great, or he'll just ask me again. Now, this isn't always true, but just this little practice has contributed to years of positive thinking in lieu of any challenges I've faced in the past. In an article published by the University of California, Berkeley Science Center, it was revealed that over the past decade, people who consciously count their blessings tend to be happier and less depressed. What does this mean? Not much until you analyze the types of people that this study was conducted on. Gratitude may have positive effects on well-functioning people, but what about those with mental health concerns? They too, according to Berkeley's findings, benefit from the consistent practice of gratitude. More specifically, gratitude has been found to release us from toxic emotions, help regardless of whether we share it with others, and leave lasting impacts on the brain. It is important to remember that it takes time to see these results. Finally, what are these findings based off of? A single gratitude letter. As we near the conclusion of the fall term with only a week of finals to get through, it's important to reflect on this time of year. Fall is my favorite season, marked by red and orange leaves scattered below trees and a transition to chilly weather. College and NFL football ramp up, and everything becomes a little bit cozier. This fall has been filled with work for all of you, students and faculty alike. Perhaps this is attributed to the return of 7-period days, an essential restoration effort to the Hill that some of you may remember. If you can remember what Hill used to look like, maybe you remember where I was the first weekend we returned from our time away for Thanksgiving, third form year. Before we left for break, I was trying to get my flip phone charger to work so I would have the battery to call my parents at the airport if anything went wrong. So I couldn't figure out how to make things work, which ended up taking me a little bit past lights out. Tim Wamakima, my prefect, who was either doing homework or watching a Brooklyn Nets game, definitely watching the Nets game, decided to come out and use the bathroom. He noticed me and decided to say he was giving me a demerit. Surprisingly enough, I'd been late to every lights out for the entire fall term already. So I did what any arrogant third former would do. I laughed at him. Maybe the Nets were losing because he told me that I was definitely getting a demerit now. I may or may not have told him to go back to his room. A week later, I find myself sitting in detention when I returned to campus for having one too many demerits that term. 2 years later, a very similar situation occurred. This time, I was the prefect. As I was making my rounds, a room that will go unnamed happened to have their lights on, somebody brushing their teeth, and the other sitting down and doing homework. I thought this would be the time to suggest a demerit, and they must have thought differently because they told me that I would not give one. So I did. I sent in an email at 10:33 asking Ms. Freeze to give 2 demerits. The situation played out very differently in my head because these 2 students ended up getting my dorm parent and advisor, Mr. Yinger, to write it off. I might be the first person at Hill to go 0 for 2 on giving demerits. So thank you, Mason and Cole. They're sitting right back there. I told these stories not just because I thought they were funny, but because they're representative of my Hill experience. As I reflect on these moments and many more, it's easy to realize that I've been surrounded by great people since I stepped foot on campus. I certainly wasn't the happiest person as these 2 events unfolded, but that's not what I'll remember when I graduate. From a young age, I moved around a substantial amount, from California to Connecticut to Chicago, and then back to California. Amidst this constant theme of change, I struggled to put forth a proper display of gratitude. When I moved to Chicago, I questioned the cold weather in the winter. I didn't fully appreciate the snow days that canceled school or the hot chocolate when my family went to ski at the Wilmot Mountain in Wisconsin. Surely enough, I missed the snow when I got to California, instead of immediately taking advantage of the new warm climate. The grass is always greener on the other side if you approach things with a negative attitude. Alternatively, you can look on the bright side of changes. There are silver linings everywhere. Some are just harder to find. Many of you are still in your third month at Hill, whether you are a third former, post-grad, or new from another school. As you all know, Hill demands much of our time. It's easy to rush to class and complain about the work you've been given. It's hard to stop and look up at the sky or take a deep breath and feel the fresh air fill your lungs. Make an effort to find places back at home without the influence of others. I go up to a place called Phoenix Lake, which is largely untouched by other people. It's within walking distance of my house and readily provides an opportunity to unwind whenever I need it. My grandfather's friend and the founder of positive psychology, Martin Seligman, considered psychology a colossal failure because up until that point, it had only focused on the negatives, such as diseases and disorders, rather than the positives that make life worth living. He once said, "The defining characteristic of pessimists is that they tend to believe that bad events will last a long time, will undermine everything they do, and are their own fault. The optimists, who are confronted with the same hard knocks of this world, think about misfortune in the opposite way. They tend to believe that defeat is just a temporary setback or a challenge, that its causes are just confined to this one case." Everyone here can think of something they're not happy with, but optimism and thankfulness is the only way to live. I'd like to leave you all with a passage from the Bible I chose for my 8th grade confirmation speech in preparation for my commitment to the Episcopal Church. Life will be sweet for the self-reliant and the hardworking, but better than both is the person who finds a treasure. Hard work can take you really far, alongside the ability to rely on yourself when you need something. This leads to success, but not true happiness. The real treasure mentioned above is gratitude. So share it with yourself and the people that you love. Thank you.